Thanks, Al. I'm not going to use a microphone. Everybody hear me okay up there? Yeah. I'll try and keep the voice as big as I can. Hey, I'm just like any other coach in terms of I can't coach unless you want to be coached. If somebody doesn't want to be coached, well, it doesn't matter how good you are as a coach, they won't be coached. And tonight's like that. I don't use those things very much, hardly at all. We watch a little bit of video and preview and certainly watch review, but I'm not a slide person. I'm not a, these are the points and you must write this down. If you're going to get something out of tonight, it's through us talking together. So I need your help tonight. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of this, but I want you to ask me what you want to know. So you get to the bottom of it. If you want to leave here tonight without getting all the answers, that's up to you. If you want to get all the answers you can, fire them at me and I'll give you an answer. It mightn't be the right answer, or it mightn't be the answer that you want to hear, but I'll give you an answer that's my opinion, okay? So feel free, and don't be shy on it. I don't think, you know, it's the old adage, there's no such thing as a silly question, except if you say it, Mothers. It's always been silly when it. So we've got Richard Mothers who's come back to visit us, which is fantastic. It's great to have former players back. I love this topic. I love talking about culture. I love talking about creating a positive environment. I like to think that the environment that I'm part of is a positive one, and I'm going to talk a lot about that. Well, throughout the whole discussion, if you like, about how you can be very, very positive and get a lot from that. I'm going to start up with the first question, but from then on it's up to you guys. First question I'm going to ask to myself is about how do you get started? How do you start that? How did I start that along with my coaches when I first came to this club? And the answer to that, I suppose, is I needed to have some defined things in my head about the environment that I wanted to be involved in. I didn't need to have the whole picture in my head, because we're still creating the whole picture, and the players are still part of that, painting the whole picture. But I had to have some definite starting points, some non-negotiables. And there are some really non-negotiables in my head. And I needed to let my players know that from the start. A lot of that was about respect. And when I came in, or when I started any new place, one of the things that I point out to people that, hey, when you talk, I'm going to listen. When I talk, I expect you to listen. When I talk, I expect you to look me in the eye. When you talk, I'll look you in the eye. So it's some really, really basic things to start with. Really, really basic. And it's just about respecting one another. I don't mind, and I point this out from the start, hey, question anything that I say. I really don't mind you questioning, but do it in a respectful manner. Do it at the appropriate time. And most people know those parameters. Most people know when to ask a question, when it's appropriate, and how to. Occasionally you've got to point it out that it's inappropriate, and you might have to just, or the manner in which it's done. But most of the time, if you give people a little bit of an outline and guideline to start with, they fall into line with it. I will say there's some real basic things about, you know, respect, listening, paying attention. I'm big on those sort of issues. I'm going to go even, pardon me, I'm not going to go swearing too much here, but the next topic that I'll point out to people, when we have a meeting, a team meeting, issues such as you do not pass wind, you do not fart in a meeting that's run by me. And it sounds like a really crass thing, and pardon me, but we're talking with young men and about young men who all think it's very funny when they hear a fart or smell a fart, and it's very distracting as well. But I pointed out to them, and these are the basics. Hey, if you need to get up and go to the toilet or go outside and pass wind, that's what you do in any of my team meetings. And it goes for here too. You wouldn't come into a room like this not knowing it, each other and passing wind and hoping to get away with it, and while other people are doing this and chuckling along. It's about respect. It's about respecting one another and setting some parameters so they know right from the start. If we do have those sort of situations, well, we'll just stop the meeting and then we'll resume just like adults later on. But there's some of these things that I point out, and they might be really basic little things. You're right, mate. There might be really basic little things, but you need to set them out from the start. Now, after that, the fun begins. Once I've outlined some of what I expect from our team meetings and when they're in my company, then they get to start to create their own environment and what they expect for themselves. The way we started here on early days here, when I came here, was tell me what you think about yourself as a group. Give us your impression of yourselves. And they broke away in little groups, and they come back with some flip charts, you know, the usual stuff that you do as in little workshops. And I'll tell you what, they're really, really honest with each other and about themselves. And some of it was fairly scathing too. It was really, really down to the bone sort of stuff. And each of the groups came back with very, very similar sort of stuff. So it showed some honesty about themselves right from the word go, which was good. So that was our starting point. Then we asked them what would they actually like to be perceived as, what would they like to be, think of themselves and others to think about it. So, no, you're right. What would you like other people to think about yourselves and yourselves? What would you like to think of? So they had these two very, very contrasting things, where they actually were and where they wanted to be. Then the fun begins, and I love this next part of it. It's the steps. What are we going to do to get from here to there? What steps do we need to take? And that's this. And they actually, the people that I'm working with, they actually start to create getting from here to here and start to develop their own culture, mixed in with a little bit of my stuff. You know, some of the rules within a group and the rules within meetings, etc., etc. But they actually start to define how they're going to travel from their low point, well, what they perceived as their low point, to their high point. It doesn't necessarily have to be a low point start either, by the way. They could be in a certain spot, but also then aspire to be somewhere else or progress to somewhere else. So all we do, and you know, as the coaches, we just facilitate that and give them the scope to develop that.
With kids who are 12 years of age, in my experience, I find that the ones who are the most talented, the ones that cause you the most problems, behaviour. What advice have you got in terms of how to best cope with that and deal with it?
Cool. Geez, I think you're getting into parenting here now, which is all very similar, I must say. But hey, I'm also going to say to you, there's some of you guys who coach younger people and different people in different stages of their careers who are more likely to be have more expertise than me in, say, for 12-year-olds. And I'll admit that readily. I'm not a fantastic coach of a 12-year-old team. I'm not sure that I'm fantastic of an adult team, but my answer to all of it, and it's about treating people with respect, whether it be children or kids, and getting them to understand what the rights from wrongs, and just rationalising with them as best you can that, hey, there's consequences for certain behaviours, no matter whether they're the most talented kid in the team or not. And that's sometimes what we worry about as coaches. If I do this to him, well, the team's not going to win on the weekend. Who cares? Who cares? Doesn't matter about the winning. In the long run, you're not going to win on the weekend if you keep treating the talented kids with kid gloves. At some stage, they have got to work out what is right and what is wrong. And we're there simply, and it goes for me with my big boys. Sometimes they act like 12-year-olds too, my boys. But it's about rationalising with them, letting them understand what right and wrong is, and putting things right for the sake of the team. If you just overlook that just because they're talented kids, they need to be treated. Hey, sometimes it is the special ones that have got some egos and all those. Hey, they've still got to have certain behaviours within the group, and they need to know that and you need not to be too flexible with that, otherwise they will abuse it. You know, we all do. It's being consistent with them, but also understanding their situation as well, you know, when trying to relate things to them. Some of the talented kids haven't been taught how to accept some bad news as well, and it's up to us to educate them how to handle or what sort of behaviours are expected of the talented kid as well as the other kid.